In a sunny meadow filled with bright flowers, there lived a little bee named Benny. Now, Benny wasn't just any bee. No way. He was famous for his adventurous spirit. Each day, he buzzed around the beehive and watched his friends gather nectar and pollen. But Benny had bigger dreams. He wanted to explore beyond the meadow. One bright morning, Benny thought, "Today is the day for an adventure." He told his friends, "I want to see what's out there." They buzzed with excitement but warned him, "Be careful, Benny. The world can be scary." Benny smiled back and promised to be careful. With a deep breath and a happy heart, he flew out of the hive ready to find new places. Benny zipped over hills and valleys until he found a magical spot called the flower forest. Wow, the flowers here were huge. The colors were brighter than anything he'd ever seen. While collecting nectar, he met a friendly butterfly named Bella. "Welcome to Flower Forest," she said warmly. "Did you know that bees help flowers grow by spreading pollen?" Benny nodded eagerly, thrilled to learn something new. As he kept flying, he saw a wise old owl named Oliver perched on a branch. "Hello there, little bee. Why are you here?" asked Oliver with a twinkle in his eye. Benny replied confidently, "I want to learn about the world." Oliver smiled and told him, "Bees are super important for our ecosystem. Without you guys, many plants wouldn't grow, and that could hurt all living things." Benny felt proud to be a bee and thanked Oliver for sharing his wisdom. But then, oh no, dark clouds rolled in quickly and a storm started brewing. Benny felt scared but remembered what his friends said about being cautious. He quickly hid under a large leaf. As rain poured down around him, he thought about how important it was to stay safe and make smart choices. When the storm passed, Benny came out feeling thankful for the lesson learned. With the storm behind him now, it was time to return home. He flew back to the meadow buzzing with happiness and pride. When he got to the beehive, all his friends gathered around excitedly to hear about his adventures. Benny shared tales of Flower Forest, the wise owl, and how vital bees are in nature. His friends listened in awe and felt inspired by Benny's bravery. To celebrate his adventure, the bees threw a special gathering. They danced and sang together joyfully. Benny felt so proud to belong to such an amazing community. He learned that while adventures are super fun, sharing stories and knowledge with friends makes them even better. From that day on, Benny kept exploring but always returned home to share everything he discovered. Once upon a time in a colorful garden, there lived a little bee named Bella. Bella was the smallest bee in her hive, but she had the biggest heart. Every day, Bella watched the other bees as they buzzed around the flowers, collecting nectar to make honey. Bella wanted to help, but sometimes she felt too small and too tired. One sunny morning, the queen bee gathered all the bees together.
"My dear bees,"
she said,
"we need to collect more nectar to make honey. Every drop of honey is precious because it helps us survive through the cold winter."
Bella knew that this was her chance to help. She decided that no matter how small or tired she felt, she would work hard to collect as much nectar as she could. So she flew out of the hive and into the garden. Bella buzzed from flower to flower, collecting tiny drops of nectar. She was careful not to waste a single drop. The sun was hot, and Bella's wings were getting tired, but she didn't stop. She remembered what the queen bee had said. Every drop was important.
Every drop was important.
As the days passed, Bella kept working hard. She woke up early and worked until the sun went down. Even when her wings ached and her tiny legs felt weak, she kept going. Bella knew that her hard work was helping her hive. One day, as Bella was buzzing around the garden, she noticed something amazing. The flowers she had been visiting were blooming more beautifully than ever before. The colors were brighter, and the garden was full of sweet scents. The flowers seemed to be smiling at Bella, thanking her for her hard work. When Bella returned to the hive, she saw that the honeycomb was filled with golden honey. The other bees cheered for Bella.
"You did it, Bella.
They buzzed.
Thanks to your hard work, our hive has plenty of honey for the winter."
Bella felt proud. She realized that even though she was small, her hard work had made a big difference. The beautiful garden and the full honeycomb were rewards for her diligence. From that day on, Bella continued to work hard, not just for herself, but for her entire hive. She knew that being diligent and hardworking made her stronger and brought happiness to others. And so the garden flourished and the hive thrived, all because of one busy little bee who never gave up. Once upon a time, in a sunny meadow, there lived a busy group of bees in a big, buzzing hive. The bees worked hard every day, flying from flower to flower, collecting nectar to make sweet honey. They were happy bees, but they each had their own jobs, and they were always so busy that they hardly talked to each other. One day, a problem came to the hive. The flowers in the meadow were wilting because it hadn't rained in days. There wasn't much nectar left, and the bees were worried. They flew around, but the flowers were dry and there wasn't enough nectar to make honey for everyone. The bees began to argue. "I found this flower first," one bee shouted. "No, I did," said another. Each bee wanted to gather nectar on their own, but there just wasn't enough. Bella, the little bee who always tried her best, felt sad watching her friends argue. She knew they were all worried, but she also knew that arguing wouldn't help. Bella had an idea. Bella flew up to the highest branch she could find and buzzed loudly to get everyone's attention. "Listen, everyone," she called. "We're all trying to do this alone, but what if we work together instead? If we share our ideas and help each other, we might find a way to solve this problem." The bees stopped buzzing and listened. One bee said, "But how can we do that? There's so little nectar." Bella smiled. "We can start by looking for flowers together and helping each other find the best spots. If we all work as a team, we'll be able to gather more nectar than if we work alone." The bees thought about Bella's words. Slowly, they nodded in agreement. They realized that Bella was right. They needed to unite. The next day, Bella led the bees on a search. Instead of flying off in all directions, they stayed together. They shared tips on where the few flowers were blooming. Some bees fanned their wings to cool down the flowers, making them open wider. Others helped the smaller bees reach the nectar inside tall flowers. They even discovered a hidden corner of the meadow with more flowers than they had ever seen before. Working together, the bees collected nectar faster and more efficiently. The arguing stopped, and they started to enjoy working side by side, cheering each other on. By the end of the week, the hive was buzzing with excitement. The honeycomb was filled with golden honey, and the bees celebrated their hard work. Bella looked around at her happy hive and knew that their teamwork had saved the day. From then on, the bees always worked together. They realized that when they united, they could overcome any challenge. No bee was too small, and no problem was too big when they worked as one. Once upon a time, in a bright and colorful garden, there lived a little bee named Bella. Bella was not just any bee, she was a worker bee, which meant she had an important job to do. Every day, Bella buzzed around the garden, visiting flowers and collecting sweet nectar. But Bella knew that her work was not just for herself, it was for her whole bee community. One sunny morning, Bella woke up early, excited to start her day. She looked around and saw her friends, Benny the bumblebee and Lila the ladybug, still sleeping. Bella thought, "I should wake them up, we have a lot of work to do today." So she buzzed over to her friends and gently nudged them. "Wake up, sleepyheads, the flowers are waiting for us." Benny yawned and stretched his wings. "Why do we have to work so hard, Bella?" he asked. "Can't we just enjoy the sunshine instead?" Bella smiled and explained, "If we don't collect nectar, our hive won't have enough food. And if we don't help each other, we won't be able to make honey. We all have to work together to keep our community strong." Lila, who had just woken up, added, "That's right. Just like how we share the flowers, we share the honey. It's our responsibility to help one another." With that, the three friends set off into the garden. They flew from flower to flower, collecting nectar and spreading pollen. As they worked, they noticed other creatures in the garden. There were ants marching in a line, carrying food to their anthill, and butterflies fluttering around, helping flowers bloom. Look at the ants, Benny said. They're working together too. Yes, Bella replied. Every creature in this garden has a role. When we all do our part, the garden thrives. After a long day of hard work, Bella, Benny, and Lila returned to their hive, their tiny legs heavy with nectar. They shared their bounty with the other bees, who were busy making honey. The sweet smell filled the hive, and everyone buzzed with happiness. That night, as they settled down to rest, Bella felt proud. Today was a great day. We worked hard and we helped our community. It feels good to be responsible and disciplined. Benny nodded. I understand now. When we work together and take care of each other, we all benefit. It's not just about us, it's about everyone. Lila smiled and added, and that's what makes our garden so beautiful. We all have a part to play. From that day on, Bella, Benny, and Lila continued to work together, reminding each other of the importance of community, responsibility, and discipline. They knew that just like the flowers needed the bees, their hive needed each member to do their part. And together, they made their garden a wonderful place to live. And so, the little bee and her friends taught everyone that when we work together and care for one another, we can create something truly special. Just like in Bella's garden, every community is stronger when everyone plays their part. Once upon a time, in a colorful meadow full of flowers, there was a happy hive where bees worked together every day. The hive was their home, and every bee had a special job to keep it running smoothly. Among them was Bella, a little bee who loved her hive more than anything. She knew that without the hive, the bees wouldn't have a safe place to live, make honey, or raise their young. Bella's job was to collect nectar from the flowers to help make honey. She loved flying in the sunshine, gathering nectar with her friends and bringing it back to the hive. The hive was a place full of warmth and love, where everyone worked together and looked out for each other. One day, a big dark cloud appeared on the horizon. As the bees buzzed about, happily working, Bella noticed something strange. A large bear was heading toward their hive. Bella's heart sank. Bears loved honey, and this bear looked very hungry. The bees had worked hard to fill their hive with honey, and the young bees were inside, safe and cozy. But Bella knew that if the bear reached the hive, all their hard work and their home would be in danger. Bella quickly buzzed to the queen bee and warned her. The queen gathered all the bees together and said, "We must protect our home. Our hive is everything to us, and we must do whatever it takes to keep it safe." The bees buzzed nervously. Some wanted to hide, others didn't know what to do. But Bella, though small, felt a great responsibility. "We have to work together," she said. "If we all stand strong, we can protect our home." As the bear got closer, Bella flew to the front of the hive, bravely leading the way. The other bees followed her, ready to do their part. Together, they formed a protective wall around the hive, buzzing loudly to warn the bear. The bear was surprised to see so many bees standing together, protecting their home. He tried to swipe at the hive, but Bella and her friends buzzed around him, making it hard for him to get close. Bella knew that this was dangerous, but she didn't give up. She was ready to sacrifice her own safety to protect the hive, the place she and all the bees called home. After some time, the bear realized that he couldn't win. The bees were too strong and united. He turned around and lumbered away, looking for food elsewhere. Bella and the other bees cheered. They had saved their home. The queen bee smiled at Bella. "You were brave today, Bella. You put the hive first and helped protect us all." Bella smiled back, feeling proud but humble. "Our hive is our home. Without it, we wouldn't have a place to live, make honey, or keep each other safe. Sometimes we have to make sacrifices to protect the things we love." From that day on, Bella and the bees worked even harder to take care of their hive. They knew that it was their responsibility to protect their home, no matter what challenges came their way. Moral of the story: like Bella, we must be willing to protect and care for our home and community. Sometimes this means making sacrifices, but by standing together and doing what's right, we can keep our homes safe and strong for everyone. Once upon a time, in a sunny meadow, there was a large hive full of hardworking bees. Every day they buzzed around the colorful flowers, collecting nectar to make sweet honey. The bees loved their job, and the meadow was always filled with the happy sound of their buzzing. But one day, something terrible happened. When the bees woke up, there were no flowers. A strange wind had blown through the meadow, and all the petals had fallen off the plants. The bees flew everywhere, but they couldn't find any nectar. Without flowers, they couldn't make honey. The bees gathered in the hive, worried. "What will we do?" they buzzed. "Without flowers, we can't collect nectar, and without nectar, we can't make honey." Just when everyone was feeling hopeless, a little bee named Buzz spoke up. Buzz wasn't the fastest flyer or the strongest worker, but he was always thinking of new ideas. "Maybe we don't need flowers to make honey," Buzz said, smiling. The other bees looked at him confused. "But we've always needed flowers," they replied. Buzz thought for a moment. "Yes, but what if we find another way? We're creative bees, right? We can figure something out." Buzz flew around the meadow and noticed something. "Look," he said, pointing to some fallen fruit on the ground. "What if we use the juice from these fruits instead of nectar?" The other bees were surprised. "Can we do that?" they asked. "Let's try," Buzz encouraged. The bees, curious about his idea, followed Buzz to the fruits. They carefully collected the sweet juice and brought it back to the hive. After working together, they made a new kind of honey. It wasn't quite the same as flower honey, but it was just as sweet and delicious. The bees were amazed. The queen bee called Buzz to the front of the hive. "You've shown us something very important today," she said. "Creativity and ingenuity can help us find new solutions, even when things seem impossible." From that day on, the bees didn't just wait for flowers to bloom. They used their creativity to find different ways to make honey, like gathering fruit juices and exploring new places. They learned that being creative helped them not only survive, but also thrive. And so, the hive became known as the most creative and resourceful hive in the whole meadow. Moral: creativity helps us solve problems in new ways and shows us that there's always more than one way to get things done. Thinking outside the box can make life better. Once upon a time, in a colorful meadow filled with flowers, there lived a little bee named Buzzy. Buzzy was small but had a big heart, and he loved flying around the flowers, collecting nectar for his hive. One sunny day, Buzzy watched as all the other bees buzzed quickly from flower to flower, gathering nectar in a flash. Buzzy thought, "I want to be fast like them. I want to finish my work quickly and have more fun." So Buzzy tried to rush from one flower to the next, zipping around without paying much attention. But something strange happened. In his hurry, Buzzy missed the best flowers. He collected little nectar, and by the time he got back to the hive, he realized he hadn't gathered enough to help make honey. Buzzy felt sad. He saw the other bees returning slowly, but with plenty of nectar. How do they do it? Buzzy wondered. He asked his friend Blossom, a wise and calm bee. Blossom smiled and said, "Buzzy, being fast isn't always the best way to work. You see, to gather enough nectar, we need to be patient. We visit each flower carefully, take our time, and then move on. It's not a race. Good work takes time, just like honey takes time to make." Buzzy thought for a moment. "But I wanted to finish quickly so I could play." Blossom nodded kindly. "I understand, Buzzy. But if we rush, we might not do our best. And when we take our time and do things properly, we end up with more time to enjoy everything else later. Patience helps us in our studies and work, just like it helps us make the sweetest honey." Buzzy decided to try again the next day, but this time, he took his time. He visited each flower slowly, making sure to gather enough nectar. And by the end of the day, Buzzy had collected more than he ever had before. He felt proud and happy. From then on, Buzzy always remembered Blossom's advice. Whether he was gathering nectar, learning new things, or helping his friends, he knew that being patient would help him succeed. And so, Buzzy became the best worker in the hive, not because he was fast, but because he was patient and careful. And guess what? He still had plenty of time to play and have fun. Moral of the story: just like Buzzy, when we are patient and take our time, we do our best work. And in the end, we enjoy the sweet rewards of our efforts.
It was my first day learning math with Mr. Peter. As soon as we entered the classroom, the whole class was surprised when he handed out 3 different sets of questions and said,
The first set has both easy and hard questions. If you finish it all, you'll get 10 points. The second set has a maximum of 8 points with relatively easy questions. The third set has the easiest questions, with a maximum of 6 points. You can choose whichever set you want.
Since we only had 15 minutes to complete the test, I chose the second set to play it safe. I wasn't the only one, everyone in the class did the same. Nobody chose the first set. A week later, Mr. Peter returned our tests. The class was even more surprised to find out that whichever set you chose determined your total score, regardless of how many questions you got right or wrong. The class leader asked Mr. Peter,
Why is it like this, sir?
Mr. Peter smiled and then seriously replied,
With this test, I wanted to challenge your confidence. Each of you dreams of scoring a perfect 10, but few are willing to take on the challenge to make that dream come true.
Mr. Peter's unusual test taught us an important lesson. Some tasks may seem too difficult at first glance, making us want to give up right away. But if we don't have the confidence to face challenges, we'll never know our true potential, and it will be hard to reach the peak of success.
On Sunday, Little Bear asked his mother for permission to play outside with his friends. Mother Bear reminded him,
Be good when you play. If you do something wrong, you need to say sorry. And if someone helps you, you must say thank you.
Little Bear happily ran around, listening to the songbirds chirping. But he accidentally bumped into Squirrel, causing her basket of mushrooms to spill all over the ground. Little Bear quickly folded his hands politely and said,
Thank you, Squirrel.
Then he bent down to help pick up the mushrooms and put them back in the basket. Surprised, Squirrel asked,
Why are you saying thank you? You should say sorry.
Later, while watching Mama Monkey groom Baby Monkey, Little Bear wasn't paying attention and slipped, falling into a deep hole. Scared, he shouted,
Help me! Someone please help me!
Just then, Uncle Elephant passed by, lowered his trunk into the hole, and lifted Little Bear to safety. Little Bear kept saying,
I'm sorry, Uncle Elephant. I'm so sorry.
Surprised, Uncle Elephant asked,
Why are you saying sorry? You should say thank you.
Back at home, Little Bear told his mother everything that happened. Mother Bear gently explained,
What you said wasn't right. When you knocked over Squirrel's mushrooms, you should have said sorry. And when Uncle Elephant helped you out of the hole, you should have said thank you.
I understand now.
Little Bear said happily. In a small village, there lived a boy named Ben. Ben was cheerful and friendly, but there was one problem. He often forgot to finish what he started. Whether it was his chores, homework, or little projects, he would get excited at first, but soon leave them halfway. One day, his teacher gave each student a special assignment. Every child received a tiny flower seed in a small pot. The task was simple. Plant the seed, water it every day, and take care of it for 1 month. At the end of the month, everyone would bring their pots back to class, and whoever grew the healthiest plant would win a prize. Ben was thrilled. This is going to be easy, he thought. He planted his seed in the soil and placed the pot on his windowsill. For the first few days, Ben watered the pot carefully, waiting eagerly to see a sprout. But soon, he got bored. I'll water it tomorrow, he told himself. Then tomorrow became the day after, and then the day after that. Before long, Ben forgot all about the little pot on his windowsill. Meanwhile, his best friend Mia had also planted a seed. Every day, Mia checked on her pot, watered it carefully, and made sure it got enough sunlight. Even though it's small now, Mia told herself, if I take care of it every day, it will grow into something beautiful. A few weeks passed, and the classroom buzzed with excitement. The day to bring back the plants had finally arrived. Everyone came with beautiful pots filled with tall green plants and colorful flowers, except Ben. His plant never grew. In fact, when he looked at his pot that morning, the soil was dry and cracked. Ben felt embarrassed as he carried his empty pot to school. When it was his turn to show his plant, he hung his head low and whispered, I forgot to take care of it. His teacher smiled kindly and said, Ben, do you know what happened? Ben nodded sadly. I didn't water it every day, so it didn't grow. The teacher crouched down to meet Ben's eyes and said gently, "Taking care of a plant is just like learning. It needs small efforts every day. If we skip or forget, nothing good can grow. But when we try our best little by little, we build something wonderful, just like Mia's flower." Ben looked over at Mia's beautiful plant. "I understand," he said quietly. That day, Ben made a promise to himself. He decided that from now on, he would try his best to be responsible with all his tasks, whether it was watering a plant, doing his homework, or helping his family. He realized that even small things, when done regularly and with care, could make a big difference in the end. From then on, Ben became more responsible. He didn't win the plant contest, but he earned something even more important, a sense of responsibility that would help him grow just like the plants he once admired. And every time he saw a flower, it reminded him, big things start small, and they grow when you take care of them every day. And so Ben learned that being responsible isn't just about finishing things. It's about showing care, patience, and doing your best, even when it seems hard. And with that, Ben's journey of learning truly began. In a small village, there was a kind boy named Ben. Ben loved playing outside with his friends, climbing trees and running through fields of flowers. Everyone in the village liked Ben because he always smiled and shared his toys. But there was one thing Ben didn't understand: why adults always said helping others is important. One sunny morning, Ben was out playing when he noticed Mrs. Green, the old lady who lived down the street, trying to carry a big basket of apples. She was huffing and puffing, struggling to lift it. Ben stood and thought to himself, "That looks hard, but it's not really my problem. She'll be okay." So, he kept playing with his friends. Later that afternoon, Ben and his best friend Lily went to the lake to skip stones. As they reached the water, they found a small bird lying on the ground. Its wing was hurt and it couldn't fly. "We have to help it," Lily said. "But we're not bird doctors," Ben replied, unsure what to do. Lily gently picked up the bird and said, "Even if we can't do much, we should at least try." They carried the bird to Ben's mother, who wrapped its wing with soft cloth. "It'll get better soon," she said, smiling. The next day, Ben felt good knowing they helped the little bird. He decided to visit Mrs. Green. She welcomed him with a warm smile. "Ben, I could use some help peeling apples. Would you like to join me?" Ben agreed, and together they peeled the apples while Mrs. Green told stories about when she was young. As they worked, Ben realized that Mrs. Green seemed much happier now. He noticed something else too. Helping her made him feel happy, not tired or bored. When they finished, Mrs. Green gave Ben a big apple pie to share with his family. Ben carried it home thinking, helping really feels good, and it doesn't take much effort either. That evening, as the stars twinkled in the sky, Ben talked to his mother. "I think I understand now," he said. "Helping others isn't just about fixing things. It's about making people feel good, and it makes me feel good too." His mother smiled. "Exactly, Ben. When we help others, we build kindness like a bridge between hearts. Even small acts of kindness, like helping Mrs. Green or caring for a little bird, can make the world better." From that day on, Ben always looked for little ways to help, whether it was sharing his toys, carrying someone's bag, or just saying a kind word. And do you know what? His friends started following his example too. Slowly, the whole village became a place where everyone lent a helping hand. Ben learned that life is better when we help each other, because when we do, the kindness we give always comes back to us, just like a boomerang. And that's a wonderful thing. In a small forest, there lived a little sparrow named Sunny. Sunny was small and brown with bright eyes that always sparkled with curiosity. Sunny loved to explore the world, flying high in the sky and hopping around in the gardens. One sunny morning, as Sunny was searching for crumbs near the bakery, he heard a cry. It was a big fluffy cat named Whiskers. Whiskers was stuck in a tree after chasing a squirrel too high. His tail was caught in a branch and he couldn't climb down. "Please help me," Whiskers cried out, his voice trembling. Sunny felt nervous. Whiskers had chased him many times before. What if it was a trick? But looking at Whiskers' teary eyes, Sunny's little heart felt sad. He decided to help. "I'll try," Sunny chirped bravely. He flew to Whiskers and used his tiny beak to loosen the branch. After much effort, Whiskers was free. The cat climbed down and thanked Sunny, promising never to chase him again. Sunny smiled. "It's important to help, even when we're scared," he said honestly. Whiskers nodded, learning an important lesson that day. The next day, Sunny was flying near the farmer's field when he saw a shiny red berry. It looked delicious, but Sunny remembered Farmer Joe's sign. "Do not eat the berries. They are not ready." Sunny's tummy rumbled. "No one will know if I take just one berry," he thought. But deep inside, something stopped him. He remembered how his mother always said, "Honesty is like the feathers on your wings. Without it, you cannot fly high in life." Sunny decided to leave the berry alone. Instead, he flew to a bush where he found some wild seeds. They were not as sweet, but they were enough to fill his tummy. Later that week, a fierce storm swept through the village. The wind was strong and the rain poured endlessly. Sunny's cozy nest was safe under the eaves of a barn. But as he looked out, he saw Farmer Joe struggling to cover his berry bushes with a tarp. Sunny thought about the time he left the berry alone. Farmer Joe was honest about needing to protect these berries, he said to himself. Now it's my turn to be honest and help. Sunny gathered his friends, the other sparrows, and together they worked to secure the tarp over the berries. Farmer Joe saw them and smiled. "Thank you, Sunny," he said. "You're a brave and honest little bird." From that day on, Sunny became a hero in the village. The children loved to hear stories about his kindness and honesty, and even Whiskers became his friend. Sunny's life taught everyone that honesty is like a bright light. It helps us see what's right, even when no one is watching. And when we choose to be honest, we help not just ourselves, but the whole world around us. Sunny never forgot his mother's words. Honesty is the feathers on your wings. And thanks to those feathers, Sunny always soared high. Tommy was an adventurous 8-year-old with a heart full of curiosity and a spirit that craved exploration. Nothing thrilled him more than the great outdoors, where his imagination could take flight. One bright, sunny afternoon, his grandma surprised him with an extraordinary gift, a small patch of soil in her backyard, all his to cultivate. With a twinkle in her eye, she handed him a packet of sunflower seeds and said, "These seeds can bloom into something incredible, Tommy, but they'll thrive only with your love and attention." His heart raced with excitement. The idea of transforming tiny seeds into majestic sunflowers sparked a whirlwind of possibilities in his mind. He eagerly planted the seeds, arranging them perfectly in the rich, dark soil, dreaming of towering flowers that would dance in the breeze. Day after day, for a whole week, he couldn't wait to rush outside, watering the seeds and imagining the vibrant petals that would soon spring to life. But as summer blossomed, temptations crept in. His friends beckoned him for thrilling games of soccer and capture the flag, and the call of adventure was simply too strong to resist. One day without watering won't hurt, he told himself, shrugging off his responsibilities as the days slipped away. When a week of rain finally arrived, relief washed over him, convincing him that nature was taking care of everything. When the clouds finally broke, Tommy bolted outside, his anticipation bubbling over. But his joy quickly drained away. Most of the seeds had failed to sprout, and only one tiny green shoot poked through the soil, like a timid little soldier. A wave of disappointment crashed over him, and he felt a lump swell in his throat. "Why didn't they grow, Grandma?" he asked, his voice heavy with sadness. Grandma knelt beside him in the cool, damp earth. She could see the mixture of confusion and regret swirling in his eyes. "Tommy," she said softly, gently stirring the soil with her fingers. "Plants need love and attention. You can't just plant a seed and forget about it. They depend on you for water, sunshine, and even protection from weeds. It's much like the people in your life. They need care to flourish too. Tommy gazed at the delicate sprout, and within him a flicker of hope ignited. "Can I still take care of this one?" he asked, a fire of determination burning in his voice. "Absolutely," Grandma replied with a proud smile. "It's never too late to make things right." From that moment on, Tommy was all in. He raced outside each morning, ready to shower his little sprout with the attention it craved. He watered it gently, plucked out pesky weeds, and even sang silly songs to it, filling the garden with joy. Every day, as the sprout drank up the sun and rain, Tommy felt a growing sense of pride and purpose blooming within him. Weeks zipped by, and his small efforts began to pay off in the most spectacular way. The sprout blossomed into a stunning sunflower, its golden petals reaching high towards the sky, towering over Tommy like a glorious trophy. "Look, everyone, I grew this. It's my sunflower," he shouted to his friends, his face glowing with excitement. Grandma enveloped him in a warm embrace, her eyes sparkling with pride. "You did an amazing job, Tommy. You've discovered that responsibility can be a challenge, but the joy of seeing your hard work rewarded is worth every effort." Tommy beamed back at her, the warmth of her praise enveloping him. "I didn't just grow a sunflower, I grew a piece of myself," he exclaimed, thoughtful and proud. From that moment forward, whether it was tackling his homework, cleaning his room, or helping his little sister, Tommy carried the lessons of that vibrant summer with him. The magic of nurturing, the significance of responsibility, and the exhilaration of watching something flourish under his care. Every year after that, Tommy planted sunflowers in the garden, and each brilliant bloom became a vivid reminder of his promise to care for the things that mattered, to nurture and cherish the world around him. It was a lesson that would light his path in every season of his life, and in every sunflower he grew, he saw a reflection of himself, bright, vibrant, and bursting with potential. In a small village nestled between green hills and meandering rivers, lived a boy named Arjun. He was kind and hardworking, but most people in his village didn't think much of his intelligence. While other children grasped lessons quickly, Arjun often struggled to follow the teacher's words. His classmates would sometimes laugh at him, and even his teacher occasionally sighed in frustration. Despite this, Arjun never gave up. Arjun had one close friend, Ravi, who believed in him. "You don't have to be the smartest, Arjun," Ravi would say. "You just need to keep trying. Patience and effort always pay off." One day, their school announced a competitive exam that would allow students to win scholarships to the city's best schools. This was Arjun's chance to change his life, but the exam was known to be extremely tough, and no one believed Arjun stood a chance. No one except Ravi. Ravi sat with Arjun every evening after school, helping him go through lessons. They started with basics, multiplication tables, grammar rules, and simple essay writing. Arjun struggled, often spending hours on what others could finish in minutes. But Ravi encouraged him. "Even if it takes time, every step forward counts," Ravi would say. Arjun's parents, who were poor farmers, noticed his dedication. His mother started waking up early to prepare his meals so he could study longer, and his father made sure he had a lamp to study at night. Seeing their belief in him, Arjun's determination grew stronger. As the exam day approached, doubt crept into Arjun's mind. "What if I fail, Ravi? Everyone already thinks I'm not smart enough." "You've worked so hard, Arjun," Ravi replied. "Even if you don't win, you've already done something incredible. You've proven you don't give up." On the day of the exam, Arjun walked into the classroom with trembling hands. The questions seemed daunting, but he reminded himself of everything he had learned. Slowly, methodically, he tackled each question. He didn't aim to finish first, he just focused on doing his best. Weeks later, the results were announced. Ravi ran to Arjun's house, his face beaming with joy. "You did it, Arjun! You passed! You're going to the city school!" Tears welled up in Arjun's eyes as he looked at the result sheet in disbelief. For the first time, he felt the weight of his perseverance. The villagers who once doubted him now celebrated his success. And even his teacher praised him, saying, "Arjun has shown us all that hard work and patience can outshine talent." As Arjun left for the city to begin his new journey, he carried with him not just books but the lessons of determination, the love of his family, and the unwavering faith of a true friend. It wasn't just a victory for Arjun. It was a reminder that persistence could move mountains. And in that quiet village, his story became a beacon of hope for all who dared to dream. High up in the velvet sky, there was a tiny star named Sparkle. She wasn't the brightest, but she had a big dream.
I want to light up the darkest corners.
Sparkle approached the great Star King and shared her dream.
I want to bring hope to those in darkness.
It's a brave wish, little one. The journey will be hard, but your light will guide you.
With the Star King's blessing, Sparkle began her journey through the vast galaxy. She found a village shrouded in darkness, where people longed for light.
Look, a little star.
It's so beautiful.
Her light chased away the shadows, filling the village with warmth and joy.
It's a miracle. She's lighting up our world.
From that day on, Sparkle's light never faded. Even the smallest star can brighten the darkest night.
In a quiet little village surrounded by green hills and colorful gardens, there lived a girl named Emily. Emily was kind and curious, and she loved to explore the world around her. She enjoyed chasing butterflies in the meadow, picking flowers in her garden, and splashing in the cool river on warm afternoons. But there was one thing Emily often forgot. She rarely said, "Thank you." It wasn't that Emily was unkind. She didn't think much about the little things that made her life extraordinary. She didn't notice how hard her parents worked to cook her favorite meals, or how her friends shared their toys with her. She didn't even realize how the sunshine, the rain, and the trees made her world so beautiful. One day, as Emily sat outside under her favorite apple tree, her grandmother came to visit. Grandma was wise and loved telling stories that always taught Emily something important. This time, she brought a small wooden box with her. "What's in the box, Grandma?" Emily asked, her eyes sparkling with curiosity. "It's something very special," Grandma said with a smile. She opened the lid, and inside were little slips of paper in bright colors: yellow, orange, green, blue, and red. Alongside the papers was a bundle of string. "What are these for?" Emily asked, picking up a yellow paper slip. "These are thankful notes," Grandma explained. "Each one is for writing down something you are grateful for. Once you think of something, you can hang the note on a tree to create your own thankful tree." Emily tilted her head. "Grateful? What does that mean?" "Grateful means feeling thankful for the things that make your life happy and full," Grandma said gently. "Sometimes we forget to notice all the good things around us, and that's when we need to stop and remember." Emily thought about this for a moment. Then she said, "But how will I know what to write? I don't know if I have much to be thankful for." Grandma chuckled softly. "Oh, my dear, you have so much to be thankful for. Let me help you get started." She handed Emily a green slip of paper and said, "Close your eyes and think of something or someone that makes you smile." Emily closed her eyes and thought for a moment. A picture of her little brother Sam popped into her head. He always made funny faces and made her laugh, even when she felt grumpy. "I'm thankful for Sam," Emily said, opening her eyes. "Wonderful," Grandma said. "Write it down." Emily carefully wrote, "I'm thankful for my brother Sam," on the green slip. Then Grandma helped her tie the string to it, and together they hung it on a branch of the apple tree. The paper fluttered in the breeze, and Emily felt a little spark of happiness in her heart. "Let's do another," Grandma said, handing her a yellow slip. "Think of something else that makes you happy." Emily thought again. This time, she remembered the fresh bread her mom baked every morning. It always made the house smell so good, and the first warm bite was her favorite part of the day. "I'm thankful for Mom's bread," Emily said with a grin. She wrote it down, tied it to a string, and hung it on the tree. As the day went on, Emily kept thinking of more and more things she was thankful for. She wrote about her dad, who helped her build sandcastles at the beach, and her best friend Lily, who always shared her crayons. She wrote about the birds that sang outside her window and the flowers that made the garden so pretty. By the time the sun began to set, the apple tree was covered in colorful slips of paper. They danced and swayed in the gentle evening breeze, looking like little flags of happiness. As Emily sat under the tree, staring up at all the things she had written, she felt her heart fill with warmth. She hadn't realized how many wonderful things surrounded her every day. "Grandma," she said softly, "I didn't know there was so much to be thankful for." Grandma smiled and wrapped her arm around Emily. When we take the time to notice the good things in our lives, we feel happier and kinder. Gratitude is like magic. It makes the ordinary feel extraordinary. Emily nodded. She liked the idea of gratitude being like magic. It made her feel like she had a superpower. That night, as Emily lay in bed, she thought about her thankful tree and all the notes she had written. She decided that every day she would add at least one new note to the tree. Over the next few weeks, Emily kept her promise. Every day, she would sit under the apple tree with her little box of thankful notes and write down something she was grateful for. Sometimes it was a big thing, like her family or her home. Other times, it was something small, like the way the sunlight felt warm on her face or the way her kitten purred in her lap. As the tree filled up with colorful notes, something magical began to happen. Emily noticed that she started feeling happier, even on days when things didn't go perfectly. She also found herself saying thank you more often, to her parents, her friends, and even to the birds and the trees. The more she practiced gratitude, the more she realized how much she had to be thankful for. And the best part? Her happiness seemed to spread. Her family and friends began writing their thankful notes and hanging them on the tree. Soon, the apple tree wasn't just Emily's thankful tree, it belonged to the whole village. One day, as Emily looked at the tree, now bursting with colorful notes from everyone in the village, she smiled and whispered, "Thank you." The apple tree swayed in the breeze as if whispering, "You're welcome." And from that day on, gratitude became a part of Emily's life. She learned that there was always something to be thankful for, no matter how big or small.
Love. It's a word we hear so often, but what does it truly mean for a child? Is it just the words, "I love you"? Or is it something deeper, something that shapes the foundation of their lives?
Meaningful love is showing my child that they matter. Not just in my words, but in my actions. It's being there, really being there, for the big and small moments.
To a child, love often feels like safety. It's the warm embrace when they're afraid. It's the calm voice that says, "I'm here for you," even when the world feels uncertain. When my child knows they're safe with me, they learn to trust, not just me, but themselves and the world around them.
Mommy always says, it's okay to cry. That makes me feel better when I'm scared.
In a world full of distractions, time is one of the most powerful ways to show love. It's not just about the hours spent together, but the quality of those moments. When I put everything else aside and just focus on my child, it tells them, "You are important. You are worth my time."
My favorite thing is when Dad takes me fishing. It's just us, and we talk about everything.
Meaningful love is also about understanding. It's not just about hearing what a child says, but truly listening and stepping into their shoes. I try to remember what it was like to be their age. Sometimes it's not about fixing their problems. It's about letting them know I understand.
When I told Mom about the mean kid at school, she said, "That must feel really hard." It made me feel like she got it.
Love is also about guidance. It's teaching children not just what to do, but why. It's showing them the path with patience and care, even when mistakes happen. I see discipline as an opportunity to teach, not to punish. When I stay calm, I can show my child how to grow without fear or shame.
When I spilled the juice, Dad said, "It's okay. Let's clean it up together." That made me feel like I could fix it.
Children thrive when they feel believed in. Encouragement fuels their confidence, helping them see their potential and face the world with courage. I want my child to know that I believe in them, even when they doubt themselves. That belief can be the foundation of their self-esteem.
You can do it.
That makes me feel like I really can.
Meaningful love isn't just for today. It's a gift that lasts a lifetime. It shapes how children see themselves, how they treat others, and even how they love their own children one day. Love is like planting seeds. You may not see the tree grow overnight, but one day you'll see its branches reach out to others.
I know my parents love me because they've always been there for me. That's what I want to do for my kids someday.
Meaningful love isn't complicated. It's found in the moments we choose to be present, patient, and kind. How will you show meaningful love today?
It starts with a simple promise. I'm here for you, and that's enough.
In a small village surrounded by rolling green hills, there lived a boy named Leo. Leo was kind and thoughtful, always noticing the little things that others didn't. While other children laughed and played in groups, Leo often stayed by himself. He loved to feed the birds at the fountain or help stray kittens find food. But Leo wasn't lonely because he was sad. He was lonely because his kindness often went unnoticed. The other children were too busy playing games to stop and see what Leo was doing. Still, Leo didn't mind. He knew deep down that being kind was important, even if no one else noticed. One sunny afternoon, as Leo was feeding the birds, he noticed an old man sitting beneath the large oak tree by the fountain. The man looked tired, his face pale and his clothes dusty from a long journey. While the other villagers walked past without a second glance, Leo went to the man with a loaf of bread he had been saving for his own lunch. "Here, sir," Leo said softly, holding out the bread. "You look like you've traveled far. You can have this." The old man smiled, his eyes twinkling. "Thank you, boy," he said in a hoarse voice. "It's been a long time since anyone showed me such kindness." Leo nodded and offered the man water from the fountain. The old man drank deeply and sighed with relief. He looked at Leo with a curious smile. "You have a kind heart. One day it will be rewarded." Before the old man left, he reached into his pocket and pulled out a small gold coin. It glittered in the sunlight as he handed it to Leo. "Take this," the man said. "It's no ordinary coin. This coin has the power to bring kindness back to you when you need it most. But remember, the true magic lies in your actions." Leo was puzzled but thanked the man. He tucked the coin into his pocket, not knowing what the old man meant. As the man walked away, he disappeared into the horizon, as if he were never there at all. Over the next few days, Leo kept the coin in his pocket, but he didn't think much about it. He continued to do what he always did, be kind. He helped a frightened kitten stuck in a tree find its way down safely. He carried heavy baskets for Mrs. Potts, the baker's wife, when she struggled on market day. He even shared his lunch with a classmate who had accidentally dropped his on the ground. To Leo, these were small things anyone could do. But what he didn't realize was that his acts of kindness were starting to ripple through the village. And the classmate Leo had helped told others about what Leo had done. Soon other children started following his example. One child shared their crayons with a friend who didn't have any. Another helped pick up books that a teacher had dropped. Even the usually grumpy shopkeeper began to smile more when customers came in. Kindness, like a pebble dropped in a pond, had begun to ripple across the village. And it all started with Leo. One day, dark clouds rolled in, and a fierce storm shook the village. As the wind howled and rain poured, a traveling merchant's cart tipped over in the middle of the village square. Boxes and goods were scattered everywhere, but the villagers hesitated. The rain was cold and the wind was strong. No one wanted to leave the warmth of their homes to help, but not Leo. As soon as he saw the merchant struggling, he ran into the square without a second thought. He picked up the boxes one by one, shielding them with his coat from the rain. Seeing Leo's bravery, others began to step forward. Soon, the whole village was helping to gather the merchant's goods, carrying them to safety. That night, Leo returned home, soaked to the bone but smiling. He was happy to have helped. As he placed the gold coin on his bedside table, something incredible happened. The coin began to glow, filling the room with a soft golden light. Leo stared in amazement as the light grew brighter, and then just as suddenly it faded. But when he looked around, he saw something extraordinary. His once small room was now filled with bags of food, warm blankets, and even a pair of sturdy new shoes. The next morning, Leo understood the old man's words. The coin's magic had rewarded his kindness. But Leo knew he couldn't keep it all for himself. He packed baskets of food and delivered them to families who didn't have enough to eat. He handed out blankets to children shivering from the storm. And as he gave away what he had been given, he felt a warmth in his heart that no treasure could match. The villagers couldn't believe their eyes. "Where did all this come from?" they asked. But Leo simply smiled and said, "Kindness has its own way of coming back to us." In the days that followed, the village began to change. Neighbors helped each other rebuild after the storm. Children played together, sharing their toys and laughter. Even strangers passing through the village felt the warmth of its kindness. And at the heart of it all was Leo, the boy who had shown that even the smallest act of kindness could grow into something magical. Leo decided to plant a flower in his garden, placing the gold coin beneath the soil. "This coin has done its work," he thought. "But kindness doesn't need magic to grow. It just needs us." As the days passed, a beautiful flower grew where the coin was buried, a reminder of the power of kindness. And though the old man was never seen again, his words stayed with Leo forever. Kindness, when shared, always finds its way back to you. New Year's Eve, a magical night where dreams are whispered, resolutions are made, and clocks count down to new beginnings. Tonight, we join Ella and her family as they prepare for the midnight celebration. Yet, little does Ella know, this New Year's Eve will spark an adventure beyond her wildest dreams.
Mom, do you think wishes made on New Year's Eve come true? I mean, like really come true?
They can, if you believe hard enough. But remember, Ella, it's not just about wishing. Sometimes you have to take a little action too.
I'll remember that.
Planning to wish for a unicorn again, Ella? That'd be quite the sight in the backyard.
No, Max, unicorns aren't real, but maybe this year, I'll wish for an adventure, something epic.
Adventure, huh? Sounds like a tall order for a single wish. But let's get these decorations up and see what magic the night brings.
Huh? Who left this here? It's so sparkly. Follow the light? What light could that be? An adventure waits.
Ella's heart raced with excitement and a touch of nervousness. She had no idea where the light would lead her, but a curious sense of trust enveloped her like a warm embrace.
Well, well. A brave traveler on New Year's Eve. What brings you to the enchanted forest, little one?
I found this key and a note. It said to follow the light. Do you know what it means?
Ah, the Midnight Key. It only appears to those with true wishes in their hearts. You must be heading to the Tower of Time.
The Tower of Time? What's that?
It's a magical place where the Keeper of the Clock grants wishes to those who make it before midnight. Come, I'll guide you along the way. Impressive. You're cleverer than you look.
Each challenge tested Ella's courage and wit, but she never gave up. With each step, the thrill of her wish for adventure came true, filling her with a sense of wonder.
This is where I leave you. The rest is up to you, Ella. Remember, the Keeper values honesty and kindness above all.
Welcome, Ella. Your journey has led you here. What is your wish?
I wished for an adventure, but I think I've already had one.
Indeed you have. But wishes are not just about what you desire. They're about the lessons learned along the way.
Then, I wish for everyone to have their own adventure, big or small, to make them braver and happier.
The Keeper nods, their eyes sparkling with approval, and waves their hand. A dazzling burst of light fills the room, enveloping Ella in warmth. Ella wakes up back in her living room, the crackling fireplace casting a cozy glow. The clock shows 12:01 a.m. Her family is cheering, "Happy New Year!" The air is filled with the sounds of laughter and joyful shouts.
Ella, there you are. You missed the countdown.
I was on an adventure. You won't believe what I saw.
Max rolls his eyes, dismissing her story, but Mom and Dad exchange knowing glances, their hearts warmed by Ella's excitement. And so, Ella's magical New Year's Eve came to an end. But the lessons she learned stayed with her, reminding her that every day holds a little magic if you're brave enough to look for it. Ella stands by the window, the first rays of dawn painting the sky with hues of pink and orange. She watches the world awaken, her heart bubbling with joy.
Happy New Year, world. Let's make it magical.
What will you wish for this New Year's Eve? Remember, sometimes the best wishes lead us to the most incredible adventures. In a quaint town tucked between lush rolling hills, there lived an 8-year-old boy named Theo. With wild curls that bounced with every step and a mischievous grin that often got him into trouble, he was the town's little rascal. The locals knew him well for skipping homework, playing harmless pranks on unsuspecting neighbors, and for his knack for finding adventure in the most mundane moments. Yet beneath his troublemaker facade, there lay a young heart longing for connection. Theo's life wasn't easy. His mother dedicated long hours to the town bakery, often returning home exhausted, leaving little time for heart-to-heart conversations. His father had stepped out of their lives years ago, leaving a void that Theo felt deeply, even if he didn't always show it. Feeling invisible, Theo resorted to his antics, thinking that if he could make people notice him, perhaps they would care. One dreary afternoon, as ominous clouds loomed overhead, Theo sank onto the steps of the old library, absent-mindedly tossing pebbles into a puddle. He had just been scolded by the librarian for sneaking a stray cat inside, and he sat there, proud yet stung. Defiance masked the tears he refused to let fall. Suddenly, a familiar shadow fell across him. It was Mrs. Harper, the beloved florist, her gentle aura brightening the gloomy day. Clutching a vibrant blue umbrella in one hand and a bouquet of sunny sunflowers in the other, she approached with a warmth that enveloped him. "Theo," she said softly, her voice a soothing balm. "You'll catch a cold out here. Take this umbrella. It's meant to keep you dry, but it's more than that." She offered it to him with a kind smile that disarmed his defenses. Everyone deserves a little shelter when the rain comes. Theo looked up, suspicion mingling with surprise. Why would you give this to me? Mrs. Harper chuckled lightly. Because, dear boy, on days like these, we all need a touch of kindness. Taking the umbrella felt like grasping on to hope itself, something he hadn't felt in a long time. The following day, as Theo walked through the town with the little blue umbrella, a curious transformation occurred. For the first time, people looked at him with a warmth he had never experienced. At the bakery, Mr. Grayson, who usually shook his head at Theo's shenanigans, handed him a fresh cinnamon roll. Here, just for you, he said with a wink. At the park, Mrs. Duncan, who often scolded him for his mischief, waved warmly and said, Mind the branches, Theo. We need you in one piece. As Theo soaked in their kindness, the world around him started to shift. Perhaps it was not just the town that was changing, but him too. He began to smile back, to hold doors open for neighbors, help carry groceries, and even return lost items instead of pocketing them. With each small gesture, he felt a new sense of belonging swell inside him. One evening, as the sun dipped low and painted the sky with hues of orange and pink, Theo assisted Mrs. Harper in watering her flowers, the air filled with sweet scents that reminded him of home. Suddenly, a question burst forth. Why are you always so nice to me, even when I was a troublemaker? Mrs. Harper paused, her eyes glimmering with understanding. Because, Theo, I see the goodness in you. You just needed someone to show you that it's never too late to change. A warmth blossomed in Theo's chest, filling him with a feeling he had never cherished before. Hope. It was as if a door had swung open, revealing a world full of possibilities. From that day forward, Theo walked with newfound confidence. Volunteering at the library became his joy, guiding younger kids through their reading adventures. He joined the town's soccer team, where he discovered that teamwork was far more rewarding than glory. And every time the sky turned gray, he carried the little blue umbrella, offering shelter to anyone who needed it, just as Mrs. Harper had done for him. Over time, the townsfolk watched in awe as the once mischievous boy blossomed into a compassionate young man. Theo learned that a simple act of kindness could break through walls and forge connections. He discovered not only how others perceived him, but how he could reshape his own identity. Years later, when Theo opened a flower shop of his own, the little blue umbrella hung proudly by the door. Whenever a child walked in, eyes twinkling with mischief yet shadows in their heart, he would smile and say, "Take this." You see, everyone deserves a little shelter when the rain comes. And so, in the heart of that small town, the magic of kindness lived on, reminding everyone that even the wildest hearts could find joy and connection when wrapped in the warmth and support of others.